Hi everyone, so this is Richard from Devpost, and today I'm going to give you a quick run through of the product and show you from start to finish how to use Devpost at your hackathon. So we're going to cover a few different things. We're going to start off by covering how you get the hackathon set up. We're going to go over going through getting it published and live. We're then going to look at how your hackers submit, and then what we're going to do is cover moderation, how to set up table numbers for your expo, and then we're going to look at announcing winners at the end of your hackathon. So if you're watching this live, I've enabled the Q&A session, so please just feel free to ask any questions there. But straight away, I'm going to share my screen, and let's get into this and get started. Okay, perfect. So here we go. So starting off from devpost.com, just so you know, I'm going to do this on one of our internal staging servers, so I can show you the whole process, but you should be familiar with this site. I'm currently signed in. If you've managed a hackathon before, you can just go to manage hackathons, and that's where you'll create it. If not, the URL you need to go to is post.devpost.com/hackathons. When you're logged in here, just click Start Your In-Person Hackathon, and it will take you to this page where you do the setup. So let's take a look at that. So starting the In-Person Hackathon, so we're going to call this Most Hackathon Wednesdays. And the hackathon belongs to today, so we're going to set a date for when the hackathon starts. This is going to be actually populated into the system for us. So let's correct this, and then we'll do start my draft hackathon. So the first thing that happens there is that once the hackathon is created, everything immediately goes in to the dashboard area here. So our job when we're doing the setup is to remove all of these red dots. So let's go through these and take a look at them. Essentials covers things like the taglines, the time zones, the locations. So let's create a tagline here. So the tagline is usually something like the tweet you would send about your event. So let's set that up. We're going to stay in Eastern time zone here. We're going to give our location a name. We're going to call this the Devpost offices. And that's at 433 West 14th Street in New York City. And feel free to drop in when you're in New York. We can add a thumbnail for our Discover page. We can also add a header image in there, so we can kind of set those up. We can also control the name of the hackathon color and the hackathon background. One quick note here on header images. So sometimes you find that people are looking to create a full width image. If that's the case, just email us support@devpost and include a .ai or .psd version of your header. We'll take a look at that for you and make sure that that's all set up. So let's save the Essentials tab, and then let's move on to the Hackathon site. Hackathon site is where we put all of our main description and text areas. So here you'll see main description. This is the largest content area. So this is usually where we'll put a large description of our event. We could put a schedule, etc. But you can set all of that here. So we could say, make sure you are registered online on Eventbrite, for example. Just make sure that all of those details are there. You can see, let's include here the rules. We encourage every event to have a code of conduct, so you can include the code of conduct in there, in the rules section. We also have submission guidelines, eligibility. So let's just say must be present at the hackathon. Here, you can also have submission requirements. Submission requirements could be something like remember to include screenshots. Rules, submission, eligibility, submission guidelines and requirements. So let's save those sections there. Okay, with that done, then we move on to submissions. So submission guidelines, this is one of the key things that we have to get right here is the submission period, the start of hacking and the deadline. That's really critical for us to get that right. So what we need to do is set the start time, which should be when the event kicks off. So we're going to set that for today. We're going to set that at 11:30 a.m. You can set in 15-minute increments. I always recommend that you set that time for the kickoff time of the event. So that could be Saturday morning, could be Friday evening, etc. So for the deadline, what we're going to do for the deadline here is we're going to select today's date and we're going to say our hacking deadline is 1 p.m. So within there, you will now see there are some final reminders section. These are guidelines that will appear on the final page of the submission process. We can put that in there. File upload can be turned on or off. Now, one thing to note here is really important is the presence of sponsor prizes. So if you have an API sponsor prize, it's really important that you tell us those details beforehand so that they can be set up for you. What we do when we set up those areas is if you send us the sponsor prize details, we'll want to know who are all of the API companies that are sponsoring your hackathon. Is your hackathon sanctioned by Major League Hacking? And what we do is from those, based on that, we create custom questions that are part of your hackathon. So next up, we have public voting. Public voting is +1 star voting that enables people at your event to vote for their favorite projects. And it's a pretty fun way of actually getting more and more people engaged with the content and getting people to share their projects. If you want to use public voting, we have a whole help section that shows you how that works. For the purpose of this event, I'm just going to turn public voting off and hit save. So let's move on to our judging. So judging for our hackathon is going to take place this afternoon. So we just put the start time. An important thing to note here is always be aware of your deadline time. So we have a deadline of 1 p.m. today for the submissions. You want to leave a buffer between the deadline and the start of judging. Now, partly that reflects what's happening at the event, where there'll always be some time for change rounds to start the expo, etc. But it also makes it a lot easier for you to extend the deadline if anyone's late submitting or you need to. And I'll show you how to do that here. So let's set that up and we'll say our judging starts at 2 p.m. and then we'll say our judging ends at 3 p.m. One thing to note here, of course, is that all of these times run in the time zone that you set up on the Essentials tab. So let's put the judges in here. So make our judges Neil and Richard. If you know the judges Devpost using, you can put them in there. We encourage you to add photos of judges as well. You can also have multiple judging criteria. So judging criteria, let's add. We'll also add impact, and then let's add technical difficulty. You can also add you can add extra descriptions in here. Okay, great, that's there. So let's move on to the prizes. So prizes should be indicated here. So let's put our prizes should be the last possible time. So we'll add that this afternoon. We're going to put that at 4 p.m. Now, prizes can be monetary or non-monetary. So we want to list out all of our prizes. The cash value is used to calculate the total prize pool of the hackathon. It's not displayed. So let's put a value in the description here. So we're going to say we have a gift card of $100, and the description then also says $100 gift card. If there is no cash value to the prize, just put a 0 and the site will recognize it as a non-monetary prize. So let's just do that here as well. So you can see those. Okay, so you'll see when I've saved those areas, the site is actually ready for publication. You see at the top here, it says ready to publish your challenge. Contact support at devpost.com and we'll help you out. One thing we can also make use of here is we can make use of the preview button. So if we use the preview button, you can see all of the content we filled out is actually created onto the site. You can see the rules, the updates, and all ready to manage. So with that in place, and what we'll do now is actually just email support, and emailing support will get the hackathon set up on the site for you. So at this point, what we like to do is actually review the site and just make sure that everything is ready to go. And just going to, you would email us, and then once we have taken a look, the site will be published for you. So let's share my screen again, and the site will be live for us. That's great. So here we go. So this is acting as a Devpost admin now. So the site is actually live now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this link into a Slack channel that I've prepared here for my teammates, so they can actually start accepting projects. So that's one thing we should take a look at now, is what is it like to actually submit to the hackathon. When you're previewing sites that you've set up, one key trick to know if the hackathon is live is whether you actually see a register or an enter a submission button on there. It's really important at your hackathons that you drive people to the individual URLs for those events so that people can see them. So let's take a look here under enter a submission. I'm going to start a new project. You'll notice on that page, I was also able to select any other projects from my portfolio. So if you have someone at your event that creates a project and just adds it to their portfolio, then you can have them go through this flow, select that project, and get it added to the hackathon. So let's have a look here. So we're going to call this our hackathon test submission. Okay, so as I say, you continue, you will be able to see this is the process that all your hackers will be going through to create their project. So let's just do here. Add a tagline to describe the project. Okay, we're going to say that it's built with Swift, and also tag some extra APIs. I'm wearing a Leo shirt. You can have teammates. We'll invite them if it's not the email address with the Devpost account. And then when I click on where here's the whole story, it actually builds out some suggested headers for us based on the name of the project. So I can just add the kind of inspiration in here and just really explain what I built. So it's a good idea to spend some time focusing on this area and make sure that the project looks as good as possible. As we hit save, we'll be able to move on to the second step. So you can notice earlier, this is the reminder text. If you've set up any sponsor prizes for your hackathon, they will appear here at step 2, where people enter their schools if it's an MLH event, and also select the sponsor prizes. So I need to check that I'm bound by the official rules and the terms of service, and then hit submit. At that point, my submission is included into the hackathon, and you'll see here you have successfully submitted this project to the name of the hackathon. You can continue editing it until the deadline. So that's really important to kind of see that in there. So that's how the users submit. Let's go back into the manage area and let's have a look at the submissions and how that is looking. Great, so you can actually see that while we've been working on this, Neil added a project as well. And this is what you'll be seeing during your hackathon when teams are submitting. So one of the key things that you need to do is make sure that you're ready to moderate your projects. You can start doing this ahead of the deadline, but it's also really important to be ready to do it at the deadline. So the first thing to do is open the project up in the new tab. Let's open up Neil's project here, and we'll get a sense of what this looks like. And then able to see what he built. So scroll through web pages tilting your phone. I can see the image. I can see there, I can check any additional info. If Neil's applied for any sponsor prizes, you'll see them listed here under challenge info. We can see all the technologies, the links, etc. So we're checking this out, just making sure that it complies with our code of conduct. Assuming that it does, as it does in this case, we click on visibility, select gallery, and then select update. If I close that page now and go back into here, we'll see that there's also been an additional submission, but Neil's has been set here to be ready for the gallery. We already know mine complies with the rules, so we can put that there. And let's quickly take a look and moderate Stephanie's submission. Great, so that's there. So we've checked it out. So another way you can set the moderation rather than doing it straight in here with the visibility is if we go into the moderate area, I can actually just change it from here. I also wanted to show you these filters on the right-hand side. If you've got a lot of submissions in, you can actually use these filters to more effectively sort down so you're only looking at projects that still need moderation. Let's select this one and set it to gallery. And then I'm going to change the filter back to see all of the projects. So all of the projects look good there. So then I'm going to select all, and I'm going to set them to be a judge. So we can see those projects here. And then the final step is to turn on the gallery. So turning on the gallery makes those projects publicly available. So if I now go to the public facing website, I will see there's 40 minutes more to submit, but I will also now see the submissions gallery is public and live, and we can check out those different submissions. You can see that for my submission here, the image has finished processing, so that's being displayed properly as well. That's great. So usually the key thing you'll want to do next at your hackathon this stage is set up for table numbers and make sure that you're ready for the expo. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Neil, who will show you how to use our new table numbers application.
Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us. So the cool thing about the table numbers application that we built is that it allows you to have a lot of flexibility with how you assign table numbers, and then enables you to sort of distribute them very quickly. So now that we have all of these submissions in the gallery published and they're visible to everybody, we can head over to the metrics tab, and we can export our visible submission data. And so we can either do this with personally identifiable information or without. And in most cases, you don't need the PII, and it's just cleaner for and sort of safer. So we're going to export all of our submission data without personally identifiable information. We'll click on that, and we'll receive an email shortly. In the meantime, while we're waiting for that email, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go and, where'd it go? We're going to clone a small repo that we've got. Right now it's called mhax6. This is the same table numbers app that we used at mhax. But basically what it's got is it takes the CSV that we're going to create and it makes it sort of publicly available. This is actually a little look at what it looks like right now. So this is how we set it up. We've got columns for table and expo number, the name of the project, which is linked to the Devpost page. We've got the list of sponsor prizes, as well as any additional categories that might be relevant. And what's really cool about this is that you can actually do some additional filtering for it too. So let's say we just wanted to look at projects that were Expo 1. We can actually just filter for Expo 1, and you'll see that there's no Expo 2 projects here. Or conversely, maybe we're just looking for a particular project that maybe is at table 2 and we don't know which Expo it's in. We can actually look specifically for things that just have T2 in their name. And so here you'll see stuff from Expo 1 all the way through to Expo 2. And where this gets really exciting is that you can actually, as a sponsor, you can provide them with great judging sheets that have exactly all the sponsor prize and submissions that they need to go to. So let's say that we were Expedia, we could simply type in Expedia, and now everything that's displayed is a submission that used and applied for the Expedia prize. So we can see that we jump right from table 2 to table 20, and from there to 69 and 86. And if you look at the print view for this as well, you'll see that we've made this very clean and very easy. It saves a lot of ink and just makes it very easy to sort of run through this if you need to print it out as well. So we've got some great print styles there for you. And what's also cool is that if you don't want to use the search box, you can actually create your own URLs for this too. So let's say we were looking for projects that use Twilio. We just add a little filter here for Twilio, and this fills it in right for us. And now we're just looking at projects that are relevant to Twilio. So I'm going to go ahead and look for the email that's got our export in it.
And that email will be sent to the email address of the person who requested it when they're logged in. You can see that there.
Right, so once we get the email, we can just go ahead and download the submission data. And it gives us a little CSV, which will open up in Excel. So here that you can see, we've got all the relevant information. We've got the submission title, the submission URL. We've got additionally the names of the people who submitted, and if we had sponsor prize information, we would have that as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a additional spreadsheet that we've got going on here. Just clear out these old rows. There was a lot of projects at MHacks, guys. It was some cool stuff. So we'll just go ahead and clear all of those. And now we can say, okay, we've got these 3 submissions. We're really just copying over information from the export. The most important information that you'll have is the sponsor information, and so we're just going to make that up for now. Let's say that we have Twilio, Expedia, and then for Richard's submission, we're going to add Qualtrics and Blue, and for Stephanie's submission, we're going to add Bluemix and Spotify. Fix that one too, so it's a little different. So once we do that, you can go ahead and assign expo and table numbers however you want. We wanted to leave this part very flexible for you so that you could figure it out and do it sort of however made sense to you. But once you're set up there, you've got all the fields filled out here. All you need to do is save this as a CSV. This will be data.csv, which is just in the data folder under the table numbers app repo. So we'll go ahead and save this. Get our little warning about saving as a CSV. And we can go ahead and reload our app now, and it looks like we just have a little caching issue. And there you go. So now we've got all of our table numbers and expos. We've got all of these projects linked to their individual submissions. And once again, we can filter these however we want. We can even do it based on submission name, so we can just check scroll right there. So everything here is filterable. It's all free, all available to you. All you got to do is work your own copy and host it, and you'll be all set. And anytime you need to make a update, you can update the CSV just by creating a new push to GitHub, and you'll be all set. Right back to you, Richard.
That's cool. Thanks, Neil.
No problem.
So like Neil mentioned, we've used this at pretty large hackathons and it works really well. We have experimented with different ways in the past, but we definitely find like setting up a CNAME to something like expo.penapps.com works really well. So definitely encourage you to kind of check those areas out. So I'm going to go back in here and I want to deal with one or two quick edge cases that you might experience. So at the moment, our hackathon that we just set up, the submission period is set to expire at 1 p.m. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move that back to 12:15 so that people can't submit. So, yeah, okay, the publish date. So it's telling me about the publish date here being there. So let's move the publish date back to 12:15. We're going to move this out to 12:30. And we will see where the hackathon is. So there, everything's set to be 11:30. So now when we look here, in 1 minute, we should have about 1 minute, 31 minutes left to submit. The important thing to do is to bear in mind that you may need to extend the deadline in some cases. All you need to do in those circumstances is actually change the submission deadline from 1 to 12:30, and that will enable you to be able to change those back to there. So if someone is trying to submit late to your hackathon, all you need to do, modify the submission time, and that should allow them then to go in and register. If you're stuck during the hackathon and need our support, then feel free to use the online chat that appears here. We're always online on weekends and we'll help you get those submitted. So then let's move on and assume that we've kind of gone through and we want to have a look at creating our judging. So if the submission period was over, we would now be able to start the judging period. Submission period needs to be over, the gallery must be on, and submissions must be ready. Once the judging period is started, you'll need to kind of scroll through this to actually get the judging ready for people to be able to assign winners. Let's take a look here, and as we're changing this over, I'll get this hackathon just moved into a state where we can have a look at how we assign winners. Okay. Okay, I'm just moving these assignments over. All right, so here we go. We've toggled that through. And now if I go into submission and judging, you'll see that the submission period is over. It ended 1 minute ago. You can actually see that on the public side. If I refresh it here, where you'll see winners will be announced soon, that means no one else can submit. Since you're there, the submission gallery must be on, and we've moderated all of the periods, so we're good to go to start the judging period. So at this point, judges, if you've set them up with their email addresses, will receive invitations to enter their scores. However, we don't find that you often need to do that, certainly for Expo style hackathons, but the option's there. If you want to, you can select our print judging sheets option. Printing judging sheets gives you a list of all of the projects listed in the hackathon with the judging criteria you entered and a space to take notes. So that's a great handout to have. But assuming this is finished, we can actually then look into the select winners area. So it's telling us that the current judging period has 2 hours left. What I'm going to do there is look here at the judging, and we're going to change the judging to start at 12:30, and we're going to have it end at 12. 12:30. Have it end at 12:45. That's great. So yeah, we have those prizes announced there. So when the judging period has ended, you'll be able to actually go in and select the winners. So we're not actually going to wait 12 minutes for the end of the judging period. I'm just going to modify that here for you so I can show you what that screen looks like. Okay. Okay, so with the judging period modified, I should able now go into select winners. So say you need to close the judging period. So once I've closed the judging period, I'm then able to go into the select winners section. I'll see all of the projects listed, and I'm simply able to drag and drop until I assign all of my winners. So let's add my awesome app as the winner of our grand prize. You need to drag and drop and assign winners to all of the prizes you configured once setting immediately, which ends the hackathon. So if we look now at the public facing fight of the hackathon and say the hackathon has ended, we view the winners and everyone has them in their gallery. So you can see here the banner is over Stephanie's My Awesome App project, and the hackathon is closed up. So that was essentially a pretty quick view through how all of these areas work, and we're able to kind of go through the whole hackathon from setup to winners in just over half an hour. So if you have any questions about how to use this in this way, please just let me know. It's richard@devpost.com, and we'll help you out. Okay, thanks a lot, and happy hacking.